Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cypher 2025. Thanks to AIM for organizing this event and giving us an opportunity to talk about AI. We are, of course, I think we are going to spend the entire day talking about AI. We are going to discuss trust by design. And specifically, we are going to talk about data privacy and data security. How do we use the AI models in a responsible way, where we can trust it with our data and more importantly, our customers' data. So, as I was hearing the other presentations, I think the first few slides have been repeated by everybody, that it all started from building the models, the generative AI models. And I think everybody has used ChatGPT at this point and probably using it in their daily lives. So after the foundational models were built, we started building applications on top of it. After that, we realized that maybe the smaller agentic workflows are better suited for building verticals and not directly using the foundational models. And now we are building MCP servers. We are enabling more and more use cases by opening up the data that we have to our customers, to our collaborators, and we see adoption. But the story is that the number of pilots that happen are a lot more than what you actually see in production. And I think throughout the day, we are talking about various reasons why AI models are not getting adopted, or sometimes where the AI models are not used in production, even though they have a lot of potential to add value. One of the reasons is that we have to make sure that the sensitive data, the PI data that these models are using is actually not getting leaked. So we all want to use the power of AI, but we don't want it to use our data in a fashion that it was not supposed to. Like, if you take out PII data, any sensitive data from your prompts, from your interactions with AI, then it will not really solve your problem. So we are going to talk about how to enable the use cases without losing control over the data. Unfortunately, a lot of companies have made the headlines for the wrong reasons, where the data has leaked, where the data has been exposed, which was behind an AI system. And there are also, so as the data usage increases, the risk of exposure increases, the number of breaches that are happening is still on the rise. And we will see more and more regulations that are coming in that are trying to curb this problem or force us to use the models in a responsible way. So what if you could solve this problem fundamentally so that all the AI models that you are building, your teams are building, can actually make it to production? The architecture is there, the value is there, the AI models are getting better, but let's see them in production. So this is a note from Gartner, where it says that data protection and application security is something that the enterprises are responsible for. It has to be solved. Without that, none of the AI workflows and the AI systems that we are building will be adopted or should really go to production. Now, let's look at it from another angle, that when you have something like a FAQ, which is completely impersonal, maybe uses some product catalog and product information, there is no risk of any kind of a data breach, right? As you go up the curve, as you are looking at generative AI, it starts mattering what data was used to train the models. And we will get to some use cases later on, where we will see that how we can actually build these models in a responsible way. As we go to summarization, and especially when we get to interactive use cases, where you want to share your PII, your information about yourself, or you are expecting your customers to share their information and get some work done, right? So we are all moving towards task-based systems, where you would want the AI models to go plan your entire vacation. At that moment, you want it to know your previous trips. You would probably want them to know what your preferences are. And you still want to trust it, that that data is not used out of context. So privacy becomes really important when we are sharing data with these AI systems. And the risk and the exposure becomes paramount at this point. So the traditional ways of protecting the data actually fails, or actually is not that relevant when we are talking about AI-based systems. So if you think about your relational databases, your user table, you had a user, you had a row of data that talked about their address and phone number, and maybe their transactional history. So the relationship was in your control. Now, fast forward to AI systems. The builder of the AI systems also don't know where the data is stored or how the data is captured inside the models. So we definitely need a new way to think about data privacy and data security when it comes to AI systems. There is no delete button in an AI system. And I think Sam Altman, the founder for OpenAI, has mentioned it multiple times that do not trust the AI systems, the models they have built with your PII data, and not just once. So that is what we are going to talk about, that how do we still trust it? So so here we dive into a use case. So Deepak Annamalai is our head of sales, and he wants to keep track of his loyalty points all the time. So with all his visits, he's very careful of where he stays and what he eats. And he wants to track it, right? And we have a customer app which he can use. But if we redact all the data, if we pass the data through a firewall where all PII is redacted, it becomes completely useless, right? Now, what we are saying is, instead, the system doesn't really need to know that it is Deepak. If we just tokenize the data, the sensitive data, then you still have the context. The tokens that preserve the context, the entity type, you still can use the model and get the actual answer that you are looking for. And this might be a customer app related to rewards point. It might be a banking app where you want to know your sensitive financial information. You might even want to track kind of where you have spent your money and what you did last, right? Or has there been a fraud? So, and now we have been talking about how to design these AI systems keeping human behavior or the way our brain works, how to model that into the AI systems, right? So, how many of you have watched Reservoir Dogs or the inspired version, the Kaante in Bollywood? So, if you look at history, right, all we have to do is actually study human behavior and human patterns. So, it was a movie about a bank robbery, and for criminals, it is very important to anonymize themselves. All they did was, instead of using their real names, they used essentially tokens. All the participants were called Mr. Brown and Mr. Pink. Those were tokens. And human beings or movies, and maybe in real life, I don't know, had figured out that anonymizing works, and you still don't lose the context. And that is actually at the core what we are saying. Going into the technical part of it, how do we actually, so when you think about the tokens, right, you will have to, at some point, you might need to go back to the original data, which means that there has to be a mapping somewhere. And that is what a data privacy vault can do for you. The relationship is maintained. So when you are actually sending the data to the model, you are sending like Mr. Pink or name underscore 123. When you are getting it back, you are actually able to see the data, right? So inside the vault, what happens is we developed some patented technology which protects the data. So some people might have heard about homomorphic encryption, where you can actually compute all kinds of operations in the encrypted space. But you might have also heard that it doesn't really work in real life because of performance reasons. The interesting thing about PII data is that you don't need to solve quadratic equations on top of your name and phone number. The operations that you need to do on your PII data is very limited. So that is the heart of polymorphic encryption, where we have created a highly performant algorithm to protect the data when it is even in use. So encryption at rest is hopefully by default. Encryption at runtime is what this technology provides. And you can see some of the PII data here, that name, phone number, date of birth. There are many use cases where you just need to know the year of birth, not really the date and month. And in some cases, you just need to know the month so that you as an enterprise can send a gift card on their birthday month. So this is what this technology does for you, and it does it in a very performant way. So another thing about AI systems or LLMs, generative AI, it doesn't have any inbuilt governance. It has no access control. So once you put the data into a model, there is no way you can control. So we already looked at that you cannot delete the data unless you throw away the model, which can be potentially a lot of money. You don't have any way to govern that who has access to what kind of data. What we are doing is we are actually adding a layer of governance on top of these models. where you can actually say that if I'm the customer, I should have full access to my data because you own the data. If you are, say, a customer support representative, you might just have need access to the last four of your Aadhaar or last four of your of the customer's SSN. You still don't need to look at the full data, right? You just need to verify the identity. If you are just an employee at the company, you probably have no good reason to look at your customer's PI data. But you still are able to expose that model to your employees, to your customers, and actually use the AI models. So if you, we covered this in the previous slide, that the use cases are like start from building the model, training the model, and then it goes on to like your chatbots, your customer-facing chatbots, and like today we are building agents, and we'll probably have a lot more use cases. So we'll just go over a few of the use cases and kind of show you the architecture diagrams of how this thing works. So here what is happening is your sensitive data is kind of passing through the Skyflow data vault system. And what is coming out is kind of that Mr. Pink and Mr. Brown or XYZ123. One important aspect of these tokens are they are in no way related to the actual data. So it is not an encryption algorithm. Think random numbers, that it is a random token, and there is no way to break that token. So if you were to lose the tokens, if your system got breached and all the tokens came out, you would not lose any data, or you would not expose any data. So that is how this system works. And here we are saying that you are protecting your AI models because you don't want it to see the data. So I think we were talking about some healthcare cases before also. In this case, Hippocratic is one of our customers who have built the first digital nurse, where you can interact with a nurse, and I think it might even prescribe you, probably in a very trusted way, for you to trust the nurse. What we did here is, this is very sensitive data we are talking about. We are talking about patient, doctor-patient conversations, intimate details about your medical history. All that was using the data vault system. We were able to ensure that the millions of dollars that Hippocratic spent on building these models are future-proof. It is, no matter how the HIPAA regulations change, or if they go to a new geography where new regulations come in, it will always be protected. The models, we can prove that the model is not aware of any sensitive data. So I'll go through, I think these are just different versions of how to use this system, be it in a chat, where you again see that when we are de-identifying, we are still preserving the context that this is a name, this is a date of birth, so that the models don't get confused. It is not like they are not receiving any data. Right? So it depends on the use case. Where in the agentic case, I think, we are now enabling multiple models to interact with each other, and multiple systems, right? It can be your CRM, it can be your traditional databases, it can be your data warehouses and data lakes. At no point you want the data to cross the security boundaries. So if you look at the system here, so we are an API-based solution. So you can integrate the APIs to any part of the system, and you are essentially end up protecting your data. This is another way to, this is where it's a more elaborate diagram how Visa signed up for ServiceNow And they said that it's great, we want your service, but we don't want you to be able to look at sensitive data from my customers, where Visa basically did not want ServiceNow to have access to the data, right? So what they did was basically implement a Skyflow data vault. MCP is very interesting because it's great to expose the data to your LLM models. But again, you want to expose all the data and without having governance, it becomes very hard. So we solve that problem also. I'll skip through the slides. I'm not sure if we have time for Q&A, but we have a booth here. So please stop by. I'm happy to answer any of your questions. So thank you so much.